Then he tried to jump out of the water, but he could only jump straight up into the air, so of course he fell straight down again into the water. He began to be afraid, and the thought that perhaps he was doomed to remain for ever a fish was indeed a terrible one. He wanted to cry, but the tears would not come out of his eyes. Perhaps there was no room for any more water in the moat. The smaller fishes called to him in a friendly, jolly way to come and play with them. They were having a quite exciting game of follow my leader among some enormous water lily stalks that looked like trunks of great trees. But Kenneth had no heart for games just then. He swam miserably round the moat looking for the old carp, his only acquaintance in this strange wet world, and at last, pushing through a thick tangle of water weeds, he found the great fish.
"Now then," said the Carp testily, "haven't you any better manners than to come tearing a gentleman's bed curtains like that?"
"I beg your pardon," said Kenneth Fish, "but I know how clever you are. Do please help me."
"What do you want now?" said the Carp, and spoke a little less crossly.
"I want to get out. I want to go and be a boy again."
"But you must have said you wanted to be a fish."
"I didn't mean it, if I did."
"You shouldn't say what you don't mean."
"I'll try not to again," said Kenneth humbly. "But how can I get out?"
"There's only one way," said the Carp, rolling his vast body over in his watery bed, "and a jolly unpleasant way it is. Far better stay here and be a good little fish. On the honour of a gentleman, that's the best thing you can do."
"I want to get out," said Kenneth again.
"Well then, the only way is, you know we always teach the young fish to look out for hooks, so that they may avoid them. You must look out for a hook and take it. Let them catch you on a hook."
The Carp shuddered and went on solemnly,
"Have you strength? Have you patience? Have you high courage and determination? You will want them all. Have you all these?"
"I don't know what I've got," said poor Kenneth, "except that I've got a tail and fins, and I don't know a hook when I see it. Won't you come with me? Oh dear, Mr. Doyen Carp, do come and show me a hook."
"It will hurt you," said the Carp, "very much indeed. You take a gentleman's word for it."
"I know," said Kenneth. "You needn't rub it in." The Carp rolled heavily out of his bed.
"Come on then," he said. "I don't admire your taste, but if you want a hook, well, the gardener's boy is fishing in the cool of the evening. Come on."
He led the way with a steady, stately movement. "I want to take the ring with me," said Kenneth, "but I can't get hold of it. Do you think you could put it on my fin with your snout?"
"My what?"
shouted the old Carp indignantly, and stopped dead. "Your nose, I meant," said Kenneth. "Oh, please don't be angry. It would be so kind of you if you would. Shove the ring on, I mean."
"That will hurt too," said the Carp, and Kenneth thought he seemed not altogether sorry that it should.
It did hurt very much indeed. The ring was hard and heavy, and somehow Kenneth's fin would not fold up small enough for the ring to slip over it, and the Carp's big mouth was rather clumsy at the work. But at last it was done, and then they set out in search of a hook for Kenneth to be caught with. "I wish we could find one. I wish we could," Kenneth Fish kept saying.
"You're just looking for trouble," said the Carp. "Well, here you are."
Above them in the clear water hung a delicious looking worm. Kenneth Boy did not like worms any better than you do, but to Kenneth Fish that worm looked most tempting and delightful. "Just wait a sec," he said, "till I get that worm."
"You little silly," said the Carp. "That's the hook. Take it."
"Wait a sec," said Kenneth again. His courage was beginning to ooze out of his fin tips, and a shiver ran down him from gills to tail.
"If you once begin to think about a hook, you never take it," said the Carp.
"Never?" said Kenneth. "Then, oh, good-bye," he cried desperately, and snapped at the worm. A sharp pain ran through his head, and he felt himself drawn up into the air, that stifling, choking, husky, thick stuff in which fish cannot breathe. And as he swung in the air the dreadful thought came to him, "Suppose I don't turn into a boy again? Suppose I keep being a fish?" And then he wished he hadn't, but it was too late to wish that. Everything grew quite dark. Only inside his head there seemed to be a light. There was a wild rushing, buzzing noise, then something in his head seemed to break, and he knew no more. When presently he knew things again, he was lying on something hard. Was he Kenneth Fish, lying on a stone at the bottom of the moat, or Kenneth Boy lying somewhere out of the water? His breathing was all right, so he wasn't a fish out of water, or a boy under it. "He's coming to," said a voice. The Carp's he thought it was, but next moment he knew it to be the voice of his aunt, and he moved his hand and felt grass in it. He opened his eyes and saw above him the soft grey of the evening sky with a star or two. "Here's the ring, Aunt," he said. The cook had heard a splash, and had run out just as the picnic party arrived at the front door. They had all rushed to the moat, and the uncle had pulled Kenneth out with the boat hook. He had not been in the water more than 3 minutes, they said, but Kenneth knew better. They carried him in, very wet he was, and laid him on the breakfast-room sofa, where the aunt with hurried thoughtfulness had spread out the uncle's mackintosh. "Get some rough towels, Jane," said the aunt. "Make haste, do." "I got the ring," said Kenneth. "Never mind about the ring, dear," said the aunt, taking his boots off. "But you said I was a thief and a liar," Kenneth said feebly, "and it was in the moat all the time." "Mother!" It was Alison who shrieked. "You didn't say that to him." "Of course I didn't," said the aunt impatiently. She thought she hadn't, but then Kenneth thought she had. "It was me took the ring," said Alison, "and I dropped it. I didn't say I hadn't. I only said I'd rather not say. Oh, mother, poor Kenneth." The aunt, without a word, carried Kenneth up to the bathroom and turned on the hot water tap. The uncle and Ethel followed. "Why didn't you own up, you sneak?" said Conrad to his sister with withering scorn. "Sneak!" echoed the stout George. "I meant to. I was only getting steam up," sobbed Alison. "I didn't know. Mother only told us she wasn't pleased with Ken, and so he wasn't to go to the picnic. Oh, what shall I do? What shall I do?" "Sneak," said her brothers in chorus, and left her to her tears of shame and remorse. It was Kenneth who next day begged every one to forgive and forget, and as it was his day, rather like